a dime for my things. Hey man, where are you going with all of my stuff? This is a woman's trip and I need my stuff to ooh and ah about. Daddy, I got a mainline number from my own
It
shit.
starts at 7,
now, why
yeah?
don't you put me
Okay,
back
cool.
and let me play this duet with
You
this
got some
silver
folks
ring?
entering the waiting room now.
Honest to God. Somebody almost ran off with all of my stuff, and I didn't bring anything but the kick and the sway of it, the perfect ass for my man. And none of it is theirs. This is mine, Paula. Her own things, that's my name. Now give me my stuff. I see how you hide my laugh and how I sit with my legs open sometimes to give my crouch some sunlight. Woo! And
Hello,
there goes
Tyra.
my love, my toes, my chewed up fingernails. Hey, nigga, with the curls in your head, Mr. Louisiana Hot Link, I want my stuff back. I want my rhythms and my voice. Open my mouth and let me talk you out of throwing my shit in the sewer. This is some delicate lay and some whimsical kiss I got to have to give to my choice without you running off with my shit. Now you can't have me unless I give me away, and I was doing all of that until you ran out on a good thing. Now who's this you left me with? Some simple bitch with a bad attitude? I want my thing. I want my arm with the hot iron scar. I want my leg with the flea bite, my callous feet, and my quick language back in my mouth. My fried plantains, pineapple pear juice, Sunraw, Joseph, and Jules. I want my things, how I live them, and give me my memories, how I was when I was there. Now you can't have them or do nothing with them. Stealing my shit from me don't make it yours, it makes it stolen. Now somebody almost ran off with all of my stuff, and I was standing there, looking at myself the whole time. It wasn't a spirit who took my things, it was a man whose ego walked around like Rodin's shadow. It was a man faster than my innocence, a lover, a nigger I made too much room for, almost ran off with all of my stuff. And I didn't know I'd give it up so quick. And the one running with it don't know he got it, and I'm shouting, this is mine. And he don't know he got it. My stuff is the anonymous ripped off treasure of the
Hi,
year.
Tyra.
You know, somebody almost got away with me.
Hello.
In a plastic bag underneath their arm. Me dangling from a string.
Hi, Tyra's hand.
Hi, John.
City rain, and no,
Can you hear me?
I did not get a chance
I
to
can indeed.
Hey,
Yep,
man,
we can hear you.
this is not your prerogative.
Thank you for joining the conversation. We're going to get started in just a moment. Give folks a couple minutes to get in.
In the pot or the chicken in the dance.
And we got some more folks coming in now.
I got to have my stuff to do it to. Now, why don't you find your own thing and leave this package of me for my destiny? It's what you got to get from me. I'll give it to you. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Around 5 o'clock in the winter, when the sky is blue-red and Dew City is getting pressed. If it's really my stuff you got to give it to me. If you want it, I am the only one.
Hey, Angel.
Hello. Just getting situated over here. Moment.
Grime wiped over once with
Hello, Miss J. Rochelle.
Eyes rolling up my thighs, metal heart
Hello.
in my womb. Dead mice fall from my mouth. I really didn't.
Thank you for coming through.
I really didn't think I could. Just one day off. Get off of me, all this blood, bone shattered like soft ice cream cones. I couldn't have people see me pregnant.
I'm gonna go grab a power cord right quick, everybody. I'll be right back.
Dangling between my legs. I not a sigh or a fast scream to get those eyes off of me. Get these steel rods out of me. This hurts. This hurts me. And nobody came because nobody knew. Once I was pregnant and ashamed of myself.
Orange butterflies and aqua sequences scowns tween slight bosoms. Silk robes falling from behind her ears. The passion flower of Southwest Los Angeles meandered down Hoover Street, past dark shuttered houses where women from Louisiana shell peas round about 3 o'clock and send their sons whistling to the store for fatback and black-eyed peas. She glittered in heat and seemed to be looking for rides when she wasn't, and absolutely eyed every man who wasn't white, lame, or nodding out. She let her thigh slip from her skirt crossing the street. She slowed to be examined. And she never looked back to smile or acknowledge a sincere, "Hey, mama," or turn to meet the eyes of someone purposely finding something to do in her direction. She was soulless, and the
Hey,
rhymes
Angelo.
in the corners of her mouth suggested
Hey.
fresh
How you
kisses
doing?
that had done her good.
Thank you for joining us. We're gonna get started in just a minute. We're gonna let folks ease on in.
Okie dokie. I'm going to be a listener since I didn't have a chance to read the book.
From behind her waist was
That works
eager
too.
to be held.
Okay,
Just eyes
thanks.
drawn on her shoulders to be brushed with lips and fingers smelling of honey and she was hot, a deliberate coquette who never did without what she wanted. She wanted to be unforgettable, a memory, a wound to any man arrogant enough to want.
Good evening, Miss
She
Lee.
was the wrath of women in windows.
Well, hey there, Brother John. How you doing?
Curtains, camouflaging
I
stretch
am
marks and
fair to
spans.
middling. Could be better, but thank God I'm not worse.
Honestly,
Amen to
she
that.
was designed.
Amen to that.
She
I
would
was
allow
telling
those
you, I didn't get a
especially
chance to
seen
read the book, so
tactful
I'm going to be a
symptoms to
listener and I'm going to
experience her
absorb all of
body's
y'all's
spirit
knowledge, okay?
tearing or
You know, the wonderful thing about
easily
Sean Gay is
as
even though
a
you
little
didn't read the
happy.
play, she wrote it
Lay on her lime, she
for
pulled from her tongue.
women to have
She
an
kissed them
instinctive
reverently,
inroads
even ankles,
on the topic.
edges
So
of
I'm
beard.
pretty sure even if you don't speak on it, you'll know what we're talking about.
Well, no, I'm familiar with, I've seen the
At
play.
4:30
I just didn't
a.m.
read,
she
I just didn't
rose,
read the book.
moving the arms and legs that trapped as she sighed,
So I'm familiar with the
affirming
story.
skillful
So
manner,
thank you.
and made herself a
Yep, the
bath
play and the book are the
of
same.
Okay.
Egyptian
Gotcha.
crystals and Florida water.
Wait.
Hey, Angel.
I was gonna say
Hello.
with that in mind, y'all, welcome to Hayti Lit Virtual Book Club. And thank you all for joining us. This is our fourth session, and it is April is National Poetry and Jazz Month, and we figure what better way to celebrate National Poetry and Jazz Month with a choreo poem, the classic choreo poem for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow is enough by Ntozake Shange. This play has made its rounds around the theater world, around the literary world, and just excited to talk about it. For those that didn't know, Ntozake this play was only the second play produced on Broadway by a Black woman. And the very first one was Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. So that achievement within itself is a great achievement. And she really broke barriers with this play, not only as a poet, but as a theater. The format of the play is one of its first of its kind, and it's been duplicated many times after its premiere. So just a little bit about Ntozake. I just love this small little tidbit about her. She's a writer who writes, and she states that she writes for young girls of color, for girls who don't even exist yet, so that there is something there for them when they arrive. I can only change how they live, not how they think. And Intozaki means she who comes into her own things, and Shange means she who walks like a lion. And I think we can just start from there. So I will turn it over and introduce our program assistant and communications director, John, respectively, John Frazier and Angel Dozier. So I'll let y'all introduce yourselves. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Hey everybody, I'm dig it. Hey everybody, I'm John Frazier. I'm the assistant program director. That was my boss you just heard. And background, I did my thesis work on specifically on Ntozake Shange, and specifically on For Color Girls Who Consider Suicide When the Rainbow Was Enough. So I'm really excited that he decided to pick this book, and I am bubbling at the edges to hear people's comments and thoughts on the work. I'll take it over. I'll send it over to Miss Angel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angel Isette Dozier, and I am also happy to be here. Also incredibly happy to be connected to Hayti Heritage Center as a communications person here. So I'm looking forward to talking about this book as well. It is something that certainly hits home for me, even like right now. And it's just a great book to review. I love reading the book so that I understand if whatever differences there are in a movie or someone's interpretation of it. So I felt like this was one of those times that the book actually is the play, as John said. And it's those times you don't really have to make a lot of distinctions unless you talk about other, like Tyler Perry's version of it, so to speak. But yeah, just happy to be here and excited to talk about it.
Cool. With that said, I'm going to share my screen again, and I want to kick off with the 1982 version of the play that was filmed, and this was actually filmed with Ntozake Shange, because she was actually in the original Broadway production herself. But this is a young Alfre Woodard doing Somebody Almost Walked Off With All of My Stuff. So hold on one second. And I don't know if y'all have seen this version. It's been a long time since I've seen this version myself. So can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, here we go. Color Girls, Somebody Almost Walked Off With All of My Stuff.
Somebody almost walked off with all my stuff. Not my poems. Dance I gave up in the street. But somebody almost walked off with all my stuff like a kleptomaniac. Working hard and forgetting while stealing. This is mine. This ain't your stuff. Now, why don't you put me back and let me hang out my own self? Honest to God, somebody almost walked off with all my stuff and didn't care enough to send a note home saying I was late for my solo conversation. The two sizes too small for my own tacky skirts. Girl. What can anybody do with something of no value on open market? Nothing. Did you get a dime for my things? Hey, man, where are you going with all my stuff? This is a woman's trip. I need my stuff to ooh and
won't you put me back and let me play this duet with this silver ring in my nose?
Working overtime now.
Somebody almost run off with all my stuff, and I didn't bring anything but the kick and the sway of it. The perfect ass for my man. And none of it is theirs. This is mine, Juanita's, her own thing. That's my name. You give me my stuff back. I see you hiding my laugh. I sit sometimes with my legs open to give my crotch some sunlight. There go my love, my toes, my chewed up fingernails. Nigga, with the curls in your hair. Mr. Louisiana Hot Link, I want my stuff back. My rhythms and my voice. Open my mouth and let me talk you out of throwing my things in the sewer. This is some delicate live and some whimsical kiss I got to have. To give them a choice without you running off with all my stuff. Now who was this he left me with? Some simple bitch with a bad attitude. Girl, I want my things. I want my arm with the hot iron scar. I want my leg with the flea bite. I want my callous feet. My quick language, back of my mouth. My fried plantains and pineapples and pear juice and sunrise and Joseph and George. I want my things how I lived them. And give me back my memories. How I was when I was there. You can't have them. Do nothing with them. Stealing my stuff from me don't make it yours. It makes it stolen. Somebody almost walked off with all of my stuff, and I was standing there looking at myself the whole time. It wasn't a spirit that took my stuff, Luann. Tell it. It was a man whose ego walked around like Rodin's shadow. A man faster than my innocence. A lover I made too much room for. I almost walked off with all my stuff. And I didn't know I'd give it up so quick. And the one running with it don't know he got it. I'm shouting, this is mine. And you don't know you got it. My stuff is the anonymous ripped off treasure of the year. Do you know somebody almost got away with me in a plastic bag underneath their arm? Me, dangling on a string of personal carelessness. I'm spattered with mud and city rain. And no, I didn't get a chance to take a douche. Hey, man, this is not your prerogative. I gotta have me in my pocket to get around like a good woman should. To make the poem in the pot, or the chicken in the dam. But I gotta have my stuff to do it too. And won't you find your own things? Leave this package of me for my destiny. What you got to get for me, I'll give it to you. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Around 5 o'clock in the winter when the sky's blue-red and Dew City's getting pressed. If it's really my stuff, you got to get it to me. If you really want it. I'm the only one who can handle it.
All right. I just love that scene because I mean it's Alfred Woodard. She's one of my favorites. So, so I would love to open up the floor to I'll say this, one of the beautiful things about poetry and especially in theater terms is it's always open for interpretation. And you know, this play has been done in so many different ways and interpreted so many ways. And it's really, you know, up to the actor to bring it to life. Um, but you know, I wanna open up the floor, especially to the women, about what it means to you for somebody to walk off with all of your stuff, and what what stuff is precious to you, ladies.
Good evening. That's a loaded question, Q, but it's a good question. Um, um, I think that, you know, stuff can be anything and everything that as women we hold dear or important, or it doesn't even have to be that important, just something that we consider ours. Uh,
Mhm.
Angel mentioned earlier that you know, this resonates with her, this story even today, and you know that too can be for many many reasons. But when you think of how I don't know about the rest of you, but my mindset has been, you know, we're so focused on things that have been lost, um, particularly over these last 2 years, but things that have been lost historically, as well as things that have been found or things that have been reclaimed. We think of everything that is tangible as well as intangible. So, you know, as far as our person goes, you know, the way we look, the way we choose to dress, the way we choose to, you know, carry ourselves, that's ours. That's our right. That's our choice. You know, our bodies, um, our minds. You know, when you think of things like, you know, what you learn can't be unlearned. If you have education, it can't be taken from you. Those are tangible things as well. But then there are those other things like your dignity, your pride. You know, what you think of when we think of relationships, you know, our emotions, you know, our ability to love, to hate, to be angry, to be sad, you know, just everything about our being. You know,
Mhm.
I think that we're probably, I can speak for myself, but I'm even more guarded about those things now because we've lost so much, especially these last 2 years. When we think of as a people, as a gender, though, women, Black women, we've just lost a lot. So um, you don't want anybody taking your stuff. And you know that part in the scene there where she says, you know, he didn't even know it. You know,
Yeah,
that's an
also, man, we don't even know sometimes.
yeah, it's like y'all got the nerve to take it and don't even know you got it. You know, I mean, that's like that's the ultimate. So I know that's just a broad answer, but I think of all those things, and I think that's why, you know, that story is still so important, so on point now, because because it applies as much now as it did when she wrote it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll go behind that because that's really how I've been feeling, and um, why this is just so timely to revisit for colored girls, because you know, we are in a critical time of transformation in terms of reclaiming our dignity, our even our right to exist as human beings. And I have been feeling just feeling, you know, that my way of existing as a human being is very different from the people that I'm around. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I tend to try and be like the people that I'm around. And I think that we all do that in ways, but the conflict comes in for me because I'm existing as a human being who is different than you are, because we're all different, but very much a part of the exact same um, human race, or the way of being human. And for being a Black woman in this country, and in terms of the various things that we've sacrificed for the greater good, oftentimes apart parts of ourselves, or not even developing parts of ourselves, because there's just this constant understanding that we are to sacrifice, who we are to fit a particular gaze, whether it be the gaze of whiteness or whether it be the gaze of maleness. And I love that this poem talks about, like, when the book was written, or when I read it for that matter, one of the first things I noted, which I included in the study guide, was that, Ntozake talked about attempting suicide 4 times, I believe.
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
And by the time this book was written, I mean, just being really upfront about that. And I know what it's like to feel like, I've given it all away. I don't really have anything. What am I existing for? What is life about? In the sense that, everything just feels so overwhelming. And most of the time it's because somebody done walked off with all our stuff. And you don't really know what's yours and what's not yours anymore. So there's this emptiness and this constant question, like, why am I doing this? What's my reason, for existing? Especially when you're constantly hit with these messages all over the place that are just not true. So this book for me helped me to capture the grounding that I needed. That, no matter what was going on, the millions of messages versus my one message, in terms of being outnumbered, that no matter what, I am exactly who and what and where and why I am supposed to be at the moment. And that's always what it'll be like.
Yep.
Tari, do you have anything to add? I know you're not on camera, but feel free to jump in if you have something to add.
Thank you. I guess what sticks out for me is when you talk about stuff, to me it's about everything that makes you you. And that it's what you might say, the good and the bad. And in the book, she says things like my fingernails, my toes, my toes and chewed up fingernails, and how she opens her legs, her crotch. Those aren't things that you would necessarily think are good things. They're not ladylike, or you're not refined enough because you've got bitten fingernails, that sort of thing. But she wants that back. It's what makes her her. And so that's what I think about when I think about stuff, not just the things that are considered good, but everything, whatever makes me, whatever experience I've had, whatever losses, whatever, it's mine and you can't have it.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah, I would say that's super powerful, because I can't imagine what it's like to be a woman, not because I don't have the intellectual capacity, but because I am not in the position that I'm not in the position for everything that is material in the world to be up for judgment. Like, as a woman, or as a man, let me say, as a man, I am not up for everything to be for judgment. I am, even as an African-American male, and as a person who is in a class of oppression, but by gender perspective, outside of gender, outside of race, from a gender perspective, there are some things that are taken for granted that I exist and are not to be questioned or judged. But as you know, the intersectionality of not only being a woman, but being the African American woman, almost everything is up for judgment and evaluation. You know what I mean? Like all your stuff, like was just previously said, like, my the way I sit is open for judgment. All of my stuff is open for judgment. And that judgment process is a way of taking your stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? As opposed to allowing you to have your stuff, which is outside of judgment, outside of questioning, outside of this idea that somehow your reality has to be validated at every step. As a male, my reality does not have to be validated at every step. You know what I'm saying? It's just taken for granted that as a male, this is my reality, and this is by default of it being my reality. It is universal reality. It is multiverse reality. It is just the way it is. But as an African American, and particularly as a female, I think what's so powerful about Shange's work is that she is saying my existence is not up for validation. I exist. You can accept it or not, but your acceptance or your lack of acceptance should not lead to, for instance, public policy.
Yeah.
It should not lead to social or political policy. It is an existence, and so like I say that to and I'm veering off a little bit from what was said, but I say that to say that I truly understand as much as I can as a male the perspective of Antizaki Shange, of Angel, of Tyra, of Angela, in speaking on this topic of existence, period. Dig it.
John, that is a great segue into my next video. That's the great thing about plays, is that you always got video to go back to. And this is just a short excerpt from the Public Theater. They did for Color Girls in 2019, actually right before the pandemic hit. And actually for Color Girls is on Broadway right now. They literally opened last night. And Camille Brown directed and choreographed it. If you don't know Camille Brown, she's a great young artist. She's super dope choreographer. But she did, I don't know if y'all saw the Soul Train miniseries, but she choreographed the whole Soul Train miniseries. And I believe she did Motown and something else. I'll look up her resume while I'm sharing the screenshot. But she's super dope.
She was here in Durham, just the year before the pandemic.
Okay, right.
As an artist in residence at Duke, performing
Okay, cool.
Duke performances.
Okay.
So yeah.
But this segues into John's point and the next kind of monologue that we can discuss. Somebody, anybody, sing a Black girl song.
Somebody, anybody, sing a Black girl song. Bring her out to know herself, to know you, but sing her rhythms. caring, struggle, hard times, sing her song of life. She's been dead so long, closed in silence so long, she doesn't know the sound of her own voice. Her infinite beauty. She's half notes scattered without rhythm, no tune. Sing her sighs. Sing the song of her possibilities. Sing a righteous gospel. Let her be born. Let her be born and handled warmly.
Well, it was a very short excerpt. And I believe that's towards the end of the show.
No, that's actually
The beginning.
That's the beginning, right?
that's actually the beginning.
Okay, yeah. Because the end of the show is I found God in myself and I learned to fish. Which all connects back to anybody sing a Black girl song. And that's why I love that piece, because it really comes full circle. When she, she's questioning, asking folks to, listen to these Black women that are on stage and demanding them to listen to them. And all the ladies are out there circling up. And usually when people do this piece, all the ladies are out there and they do some kind of rhythm or all the song. And that's what I love about this production. All the songs are different, and everybody's song, when you see the production, is different. I just love that, because everybody comes up with their own tune and their own rhythms when they introduce the piece. So yeah, what's your favorite song that represents Black women?
From the play or in general?
And just in general, that's what it brings up for me when anybody sing a Black girl song. Like, what's your and if you have another point of view, that's cool. Y'all can bring that out too. But just to spark the conversation, who's your favorite artist or song that represents Black women that's always your go-to?
And let me also ask, what is a Black girl song?
Word.
Like, song is encoded language. You know what I mean? Song is encoded, synthesized language that synthesizes a perspective or an ideology. What is a Black girl song? In addition to the question.
I will, in terms of my go-to, because it has changed. It's a newer song.
Okay.
And it's by Miss Lauryn Hill.
Word.
Called Guarding the Gates.
Hey, yeah.
It's from the motion picture Queen and Slim.
Mm-hmm.
And it just talks about like finding real love. And then she goes, "Don't you wish you had real love? I know you do, because I'm in love."
Right.
And she's talking about finding this thing within herself that she's been battling all these years, and determining that she is going to take a stand within herself to be exactly who she is, against all the things that people have said about her, the criticisms and all the things, that obviously that she's really been suffering, from the pressures of like being a woman in the industry, but also having to deal with all the double standards, all the extra scrutiny around her versus, someone else being of a different race, or even being, a Black male in the industry, like really just letting go of all of that and saying, I found this thing right here. I validate myself. What I say about myself is what goes. And it's such a beautiful song on top of that, because she's really calling out the things that she battled throughout her life, and still saying, but I'm in love. Yes, this is what all these things is what it took for me to get to this place. So she, as Tyra mentioned, in terms of acceptance, of what is the good and bad, and who gets to decide what good and bad is anyway. Is it just a response to what we've been taught and how we've been conditioned? So that would Guarding the Gates by Miss Lauryn Hill is the song I would say is my go-to now.
Angel, can I ask you a question? Because this brings up the point of going back to Intozaki having different colors. And I feel like all of those women represent her, and each part of her is different. So what was your go-to song, say, in your early 20s?
My early 20s.
Knowing that you're only 29 now, what was it in your early 20s?
But I'm okay with being 46. But I appreciate that. That's very sweet. Thank you. My song was I'm Every Woman. And Shaka Khan's version, but when Whitney Houston sang it, I felt like it was next level, and it was something that stayed with me. So I'm gonna say that song, but it also just reminded me of a song I think that was my go-to before that. And now I see how my new song and that song connects. This is my song when I was in 4th grade, because I was in a pageant and we had to learn it. The Greatest Love of All.
Word.
Does that not apply to like this whole book? Like in Guarding the Gates, it's basically the same song when I think about it. So in my 20s, in that brown dress, in that even the yellow dress, maybe even in the blue dress, I was, in the every woman mode, coming out of the greatest love of all, and not really understanding what the greatest love of all was about, but those seeds were there. And that's what transitioned me to Guarding the Gates, like protecting what is mine, which is, who I am.
In Q, I'm gonna take it even back further than that, because when you asked about a song, that, as Angela said, there's no one song.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go all the way back to a song that I remember my parents played music all the time, and my mom had certain favorites, and Nina Simone was one of hers, and who everybody else's. But there was a song that Nina Simone sang. She recorded, "See the Little Brown Girl." That is one of the most powerful songs, because it was a little Black child, gaining an awareness of what racism and prejudice really was. Where she's got this little friend, and they play together, and she's so excited, and Nina Simone is singing as a little child, and she's talking to her mom, and she says, "Oh, because she and this little girl had this wonderful relationship," and then she says, "Mom, can she come over to play dolls with me?" And the music just sort of pauses, and there's this pause, and you don't hear anything, and then she says, "Why not?" And then the last word of the song is Nina Simone singing, "Oh, I see." And it's clear that it's because this is a little white girl, and she cannot go and play with this little white girl. And she doesn't understand why until her mom breaks it down. I have always always held that. I don't know what it is about that song, but the words and the way Nina Simone presented it. And, you know, you don't see this, but you see it because she's singing this story. And that's something as a young child, you know, she has to realize, and her mom sadly has to tell that to her and has to, you know, she can no longer shelter her from that. So that to me was a very powerful early age song for little girls, black and white. And then you just kind of go from there. As Angel said, the greatest love of all is just one of the best. And then if you're thinking about, you know, it depends on what part of your womanness you're referring to. Are you the defiant militant? Are you the one who's carries her heart and who's so in love that, you know, you think of Roberta Flack singing The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face? You know, I mean, they're just, it depends on which personality you're capturing. So, you know, we have so many sides. We're not one dimensional. So, again, speaking of Nina Simone, for women, I mean, good grief, the way she, you know, there's just so much. And then who can ignore India.Arie talking about, you know, my hair and, you know, all of these coming of age things. But just there are just so many. But I like the ones Angel posed as well, you know, but there's so many. Gosh, so many. We could just go on and on about those songs.
Tyra, you got some songs you want to add to the playlist? We're making a playlist. I'm making a playlist over here in the chat. So
Okay. Yes. Two that I can think of. One is Carmen Mcrae's Woman Talk. And I think that fits with this book because, you know, there are different, I mean, the women are working together to tell their stories together and as individuals. We talked to, the first segment, she was talking to all her girlfriends. And Woman Talk is about what they say when men aren't around, that sort of thing. You know, look who we are and what do we say about men? So I think that is a good one. The other one is also, I have a Nina Simone song called Ain't Got No. So ain't got no home, ain't got no shoes, no money, no class. But she's like, I've got myself. And that's another one that relates to this book and to the first segment that we were talking about.
Word. I love Ain't Got No. Nina Simone is always a go-to for for everything, actually. Cool. John, you got any songs that speak to what you think of when you hear about Black women in particular?
Oh my goodness. I think Nina Simone sums it up.
Yeah, she really does.
She really does. She really does. And second after that, you know, Lauryn Hill sums it up.
Yeah.
And you know, and after that, there's the, you know, the tertiary. Every Black woman who has spoken about, I mean, Aretha Franklin, who's our you know, our next you know, event for music for Hayti, for tribute for Hayti, you know.
I was gonna say
Aretha
respect.
Franklin.
That's the, you know.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Respect. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, it just ties into so many constructs of how Black women may not be power, but they are strength. And strength is godly. Power is not, is a tertiary or you know, or you know, a tertiary construct of power, but strength is really the feminine. You know what I mean? Respect. Nina Simone saying, hey, I don't have this primary power that you constructed in society as, the ability to move things. I have this secondary or tertiary power, which says, hey, you can move whatever you want to move. But the universal reality is I got my hair, I have my health, I have my strength, I have my mind. You know what I mean? And that is really godly power. That really is the godly power. The feminine strength really is the godly power. And so you know, I have no other choice but to second and third and fourth what has already been said about what power and strength truly is, which is not the power to move, but the strength to be moved in a moment. I mean, every spiritual text speaks to a deity that not only talks about power as a component of the power to move, but the power to be moved, the power to accept being moved. And that is so powerful to me. That is so much a component of strength that, it just becomes a commentary on what power truly is. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm veering,
No,
but
John, I got to interrupt you because I really appreciate that you lifted up the idea of strength versus power, because it is because Black women have that strength. It is because we are so often in a space where we question, where we wonder if we can make it, if we can still go on, because strength is something that's always there. But there are times you feel like maybe you don't have the strength you need for whatever the situation is. This is why you consider suicide when the rainbow ain't enough. I mean, I think of, I'm gonna be brief because I know Q wants to go on, but James Baldwin is one of my favorite writers, and his play Amen Corner was my absolute favorite. And the main character, Sister Margaret, who was a minister, at her moment, she was a very strong woman. She was married, she had a son, but in her moment when she was really beginning to feel the weight, the people coming at her from the church folk and everybody judging, and her own internal struggles, she lifted and to one little line in that play, but to me it stood out as the most powerful. She said, Lord, who would ever want to love a man and raise a child? That went to the heart, because she loved hard. She loved her husband. She loved her son, but she reached a point where her strength was really tested so severely that she had to get on her knees and ask, who'd ever want to love a man and raise a child? So, John, thank you for lifting up the idea of strength, because it is the strength that carries us and allows us to carry our lives, our families, our circle, our friends, just whomever. But it is because it's strength, it is tested and challenges us sometimes to wonder if we can really maintain it. So thank you for lifting that up.
I just want to add to that in terms of thank you, Angela, for that, because it is, to me, what makes being a human being so beautiful and so powerful. The fact that we are this book reminds me that we are here to undergo this process, this journey, or an education of life. And we're doing that for the rest of our lives. And this is what it looks like on the path. There are things that are challenging. There are things that make you sad, that make you angry, that make you feel alone. And there are also things that are the most wonderful feelings in the world, like, the birth of a child, getting married, or achieving the thing that you set out to achieve. Like life is about both the peaks and the valleys. And that there are people like in this book, and something that I still heard Tyra even say, who are keepers of that message. They are messengers, and that they are following their journey to be these messengers in order to provide this, what I'm calling artistic prescription, because that's something that this whole thing is a whole artistic prescription, y'all, in terms of like, here's the book for when you feel like this. Here's the music for when you feel like this. And here's the dance move, or, what you can watch, or how you can move your body, or find the way to move your body when you feel or are experiencing these things. And to be able to live, to tell it, or to express it artistically, to me, is one of the most powerful parts about it, because it is the thing, that little message that the voice from God, as we say, that you're looking for. You're looking to hear that voice. And this is how, we know that God works in mysterious ways, through the literature, through the music, through the various artistic expressions, because I was born in 1976, so maybe a year after this book was debuted, I believe. So for me to be able to have access to For Colored Girls, and 20 years later when I read it, and to be able to say, another 20 years later, to be able to say, oh my goodness, that's what all of that was. And look at how far I have come. I have experienced healing, and yet there is more healing to get. There's more joy to have, and more, we can do it more consciously as we, move throughout this journey. So I'll stop right there, because I'm just super excited about that.
Yes.
And Angel, going off your journey, I'm reading, I'm on page 5. I don't know what version of the book you have, For Colored Girls. But anyway, I'm on page 5, and, we were talking about that first section, and it says, she's half notes scattered without rhythm, no tune, sing her sighs, sing the song of her possibilities, sing a righteous gospel, let her be born, and handled warmly. And I just want to say that we have to discover who we are as well as we walk this earth. And we have obstacles, and then we have people making judgments or telling us who we are, who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act, what we're supposed to do. So so that's the struggle too. And I love that this book opens up with that kind of like, from darkness or kind of blank slate or blackness. I don't know why dark and black. To me, a lot of people might say, well, those aren't, that color isn't a beautiful color, but I feel like that's the perfect place to start from, somewhere from darkness. It's mystery. It's I don't know. I like the idea of that anyway.
And you know what, Tara, I think we can draw an analogy with that darkness has a deeper meaning, because how often have you read or seen or heard Black women say they have felt invisible? So that dark, like it to me, that's the same as feeling invisible thing. So I kind of think that is just one of those ways that they beautifully scripted how so many Black women feel.
Yeah, and we can choose to step into the light at any time.
Yep.
We don't have to wait for that.
And y'all so often do and don't even know it.
Like y'all taking all our stuff.
Yeah.
See, there we go, yeah.
Yeah. I have a question, and this is for you and John. I'm curious about, like, in terms of, because it's not necessarily new that that women talk about these things and, you know, try and raise up the point that we feel in these ways that equate to for colored girls and the various stages throughout. I think about the fact that as I make these discoveries on my journey, I think about what I have passed on already to my son. And so I think about, like, what we pass on to our children when we aren't accepting of the journey that is life. And then when you get to that point and you think about, oh my goodness, this is something I passed on and perpetuated to my children, then you realize, oh my goodness, my parents were at this point in their life somehow, and they're just as human as I am. They are somebody too who had fears, you know, joys, disappointments, loves, and the various things. So I wonder what the two of you think about, like, what is your action associated with understanding these things that women are enduring, particularly the women in your life? What are the actions that you take to show that understanding, or what are actions that you think other men or male identifying people could take to help to resolve? Because this absolutely should be about resolving. We talk about it to start resolving, but, like, in terms of solutions to resolve these inequities, for lack of a better word, in terms of, you know, how Black women feel, how women in general feel, but we're talking about Black women here. So yeah, what actions do you take, and what actions do you think men should take? And what actions do you want to take yourself if you haven't, like, taken any intentional action?
That's a very good question. And to your point, just thinking about just growing up with my mom and my grandma and my sister in the house, just 3 generations of women in the house, in all their various journeys, always come back to the word grace. Showing grace for their journey and what they're going through, because sometimes I can't identify with it. I can, you know, I see it happening, but I don't completely understand it. Or you don't, like you said, you don't understand it until you get older. So I always fall back on the word grace, because I don't think people in general give women enough grace, and enough room to make mistakes, and, you know what I'm saying, and y'all have a lot on your plate. Like, I mean, you do. I mean, they do. You have not that, you know, people in general, but women especially, you know, raising a household, you know, being in charge of a household, if you're a single mother, you know, working 24/7, trying to raise children, you know, trying to be of service to the community, so on and so forth, is sometimes you make mistakes, and I don't think we give, especially, I say women of color, but especially Black women, enough grace to make those mistakes, or and also commending them on a job well done or whatever it is. I also don't think you get enough accolades for what you do on a regular basis. So I try and give grace and accolades as much as I can when it comes to women, and Black women in particular. since I was raised and birthed by them.
Dig it, dig it, dig it. And I'm with Boss plus. I am what's the best way to say this? I am a spirit of both acceptance and understanding and the lack of intolerance or the lack of tolerance. And what I mean is that I am a spirit of defender. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I do. I defend. I don't know what to tell you, boss. I don't know what to tell you. Like that's my nature. And so like plus what boss just said, I I am everything that boss just said, plus I have no problem with throwing it all away, what I mean to say, and waking up in cell block D, smiling, knowing that no one has offended your honor. If that makes sense. Like, I am Du Bois plus Booker T plus like, Marcus Garvey. You know what I mean? And like, so for me, Black women are the leaders, period. I have no pride or gender construct that leads me to believe that I'm supposed to be a leader. I'm only supposed to defend the leader, which is the Black female. And make no mistake, I'll tear flesh. I'll tear flesh to make sure that the Black female is at the head, period, and point blank. And so, like, I know my position. I know my position, and my position is not at head. My position is at, road blazer, to make sure the African American female or the African female can move forward with ease. That is my position. I have no desire for another position. I have no, you know what I mean? Like, I have no, like, there's no concept of another position other than to move forward with fire and Excalibur, so that once the Black female moves forward, she just walks. It's just chilling, just walking forward, because all else is moved out of her way. And so when you ask me, how do I feel, or what's my position in the perspective of, Black leadership, there is no question for me in Black leadership. I am not to be Black leadership. I am to make the way for Black leadership, which is firmly in my brain associated with Black females. Period. Like that's all stop. Like, there's no, like, I don't pontificate. I don't like there's no, intellectual discussion about it. like that's just not my role. Like black female leadership. You got a problem? Shing. All right, there's no more problem. Black female leadership. Move forward. You know, that is literally my brain. And will I sacrifice everything for that reality? Yes, because I know that that's a reality. Like I know that like you know what I'm saying? Like there's no like I don't like I don't pause like like I don't really know how to pause like you you are an affront to black female leadership, like you have to go. Like I don't really pause with that per se. Like I don't really pause. Like I don't know what to tell you, boss. Like I don't know what to tell you. I don't pause.
I just love that, you know, because John is a thespian, and when John responds to any question, especially in this book club, it is full of all the theater and drama and like animation that comes with that. And that's why I keep like laughing with John, because it is amusing to me. So I think I got the answer, but I was definitely paying more attention to like you know, the energy, because that's what.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was curious about just in general, like I know that there have been movements, like for example, Dr. Mark Anthony Neal, who claims to be a feminist and has, you know, taken it upon himself in his classes, as well as with the men that he works with or is in community with in whatever ways, to really help men, especially in the South, understand what it means to be a feminist, and to support the notion that we should all be feminists. Obviously, there are these like I've been trying to find the right terminology and talking to some of my friends about this in terms of what the righteousness is versus what the offense is, right? Because when we talk about like feminism or even LGBTQ plus identities, even in terms of learning about like even trans identities and using the right terms, where's the line in terms of it being this like righteous, like and when I say righteous, I'm talking about like a self-righteous, like you just need to do it and I don't have to teach you anything, which is it, you know, it's not our responsibility, and that's not what I'm saying. But in terms of, I just should walk in a room and you just need to know. So there's no education around like what feminism is and what it isn't. It's either been offense or like a self-righteousness, an entitlement around the term. And a lot of times in the self-righteousness, like ways that people have been taught about feminism, it's what loses people. It's not what brings people in. And so when we talk about like feminism, what that is versus what it isn't is most of the time what we see in the media. And that's what gets perpetuated by even sometimes scholars have perpetuated like the righteousness of it, rather than taking on a role to educate. So that's a sort of a long-winded response in terms of some of the things that Mark Anthony Neal has taught people. And I've been witness to it in terms of, you know, number one, really digging deep and understanding what feminism is. And the book that he recommended was Bell Hooks, I think Communion was the book. We read All About Love, which was definitely along the lines of communion. And I don't think I'm calling the right title because Bell Hooks written so many beautiful texts about feminism. But in terms of like Alice Walker talking about her feminism being lavender, if feminism was purple, then her feminism was lavender. And even with, that context, some people have felt that even that is not necessarily their feminism. And so it goes back again, I keep referring to what Tyra said earlier about the good and bad and like all of it being mine. I feel like that is a way to approach feminism and the in terms of taking some actions like without like bowing down or rolling over or whatever, letting women lead you through their stories or their existence and trusting women to lead you to the right answer for that. And also being agile in terms of what those stories are for a lot of different people, still under the context of feminism, if that's what you choose to call yourself. And even if you don't choose to call yourself still a feminist, like what actions are still consistent with supporting the ideals of feminism, of recognizing, women as just as human, that we're not just here to bear your children and to sacrifice our lives, that we do have these lives and these other identities that make up who we are. So just thank you for the responses. And I also wonder, like, for Tyra and Angela, like, what actions would you want to see people take? That you would want men to take?
I don't think we have enough time for me to answer that question. Quite seriously, that's a whole nother conversation. Because I think that so often we think that, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm speaking for everybody, but I think there are times that we give ourselves too much credit for the way we think or what we do, because we think we're doing, something good. And maybe we are, but is it enough? So, I'm just someone who always questions, is what I'm doing enough? But I think sometimes people get a little, caught up in what they do, thinking what they're doing is enough. So I think every day should be about questioning, not in a negative way, but just making sure that you haven't left anything on the table. Because as women, as Q said, I mean, we're different. All the conversations about gender identity aside, as women, we are different. We were born that way. Men were born that way. We're different. So I think our perspectives are necessarily different because of the things that shape our perspectives as women, from the time we were little girls. And as the play said, we go through all sorts of biological changes. We go through, a whole lot of stuff that, where we are when we come from the womb to where we are by the age, by teens, we're very different. So, like I said, that would be a whole nother conversation, not just for myself. I think about, and I think it was something that Q or John, someone said much earlier, but the whole idea of not judging. But isn't it kind of interesting that as Black women get older, think about, when Alfred was sitting there talking about, I want to sit this way and all, somebody's going to say, look at her sitting like that. But when we see the elders sitting, and they got the little stocking balled up around their knee, and they got, and they got the dress pulled over their knees, but those legs are open. Ain't nobody sitting there saying, shame, what I'm saying? Because like the Delaney sisters say, they're having their say. And I hear my mama say this a lot. She said, you know what? I've earned the right to think what I want, to do what I want, to feel and to say what I want, because I've lived that life, you know. So do we have to cross that to that side to be able to be, you know, to be free as women? I mean, should we have to wait until we're 80? But anyway, that's a whole nother
Love that. Yes.
conversation. Yeah.
And I agree with Angela that the action has to be, or action is in the everyday. It's the little things for me. If you're working and you're in a meeting, you might and someone has an idea, you make sure that idea is heard. You say that that's a good idea, or that sort of thing. I forget the other thing I was going to say, but yeah, it's listening.
Yes.
It's listening. It's when someone comes to you, it's also doing, taking a step. It doesn't have to be 10 steps, but taking a step to move in a direction that is that benefits everyone, not just the woman you're trying to help, but you're really benefiting your community. And where we're not represented, make sure there's representation, notice it, and then do something about it, wherever you are.
Amen.
Y'all, I know it was close to time to wrapping up, but thank y'all for everything. I just want to add before we leave, this play, I was just thinking this play was very revolutionary in many ways, because not only did she represent Black women, she represented all women of color. She has in there uh, about the octoroon balls, and so you have somebody in there passing, quote unquote, you think she's white but she's really a Black woman. You have in there the Latina aspect, because she's talking about Willie Colon and going to the salsa dances and all that stuff. So I just wanted to bring up that point, that she really was revolutionary in that point of representing all women of color, and not and hence the name for Colored Girls and not Black girls. Even though blackness is at the forefront. And then two quotes that I wanted to pick out to end the night on. I I want to say this, but I feel like she was the first one to kind of put in our heads Black girl magic, because she says, "Where there's a woman, there is magic." And it goes on, the poem goes on, but that was one of the lines. And then, of course, the ending, "I found God in myself and I loved her fiercely." So I just wanted to end on those notes.
Very good notes. And she was talking about Paulie Murray, wasn't she? Yes.
And speaking of, she has a line here. Hold on. It is but being alive and being a woman and being color is a metaphysical dilemma I haven't conquered yet. Do you see the point? My spirit is too ancient to understand the separation of soul and gender. My love is too delicate to have thrown back in my face. My love is too beautiful to have thrown back in my face. My love is too sanctified to have thrown back in my face. My love is too magic to have thrown back in my face. My love is too Saturday night to have thrown back in my face. My love is too complicated to have thrown back in my face. My love is too music to have thrown back in my face. So
Can I just say,
solely gender Paulie Murray. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Can I just say that line of thinking is in commentary, temporally speaking. We're talking about temporal mechanics now. Temporal mechanics in terms of living in the now. Most people live, intellectually speaking and consciously speaking, either in the past or in the future. Very few people temporally, and that's temporal mechanics, that's time mechanics, live in the now. And those statements are based on living in the now, not living in the past, as in the cultural constructs that you are used to being formed by, or the future constructs which you are used to projecting into, i.e., tomorrow I got to do this. If I do this, then that's going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And then that's going to happen. But living in the actual now, that is how or why this play is so temporally speaking, that means time-based physics, is so poignant, is because she speaks of living in the now, which is eternal. The now is eternal. The past is the past. The future is unspoken. The now is reality. And it's the only reality that is real. Like really real. Like you could say, like, right now, you sit in your living room. Like you can say right now you're hungry or you're thirsty, or you're not hungry or you're thirsty. You cannot say in the future you will be thirsty or hungry. Or you cannot say in the past I was thirsty or hungry, because that's the past. But these statements are so poignant because they live in an eternal now. The now is the only thing that's eternal. The past is gone. The future is suspect. You don't know what that is. The now is reality. And it's the only true reality. It's the only true reality. It's the only true. The now is the only true reality. And so when Q brings up this point of all these statements that she's saying, that is what also makes Shange so eternal, because she's locked in the now. She's not locked in the past. She's not locked in the present. She's locked in the now. So I say all of this to say thank you, Q, for bringing up this standpoint of the phrases that you're talking about, because it really locks us into the now.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this book too. So thank you for that, John. It's an example. And it's an example that we can always have access to, which is why I believe literary art is so important. Why the arts are important, period. Because those, the title talks of, represents what she experienced in the past. But it is a gift of the ever present that any of us, no matter where we fall in line with the times, that we are able to access and be on our own journey to existing in the present. That's the validation that I think that you were mentioning earlier, in terms of, I'm the validation, and that the integration of these peaks and valleys is the journey. The destination, getting to that thing that you achieve, is what else is there when you get there? Y'all have all achieved something. You know what it's like. It's oh, okay. And it's a fleeting moment. So the journey is everything, and the journey is a goal. So yeah, that's how I took what you said. I really appreciate that very much. The presence, the present, and the presence, being present.
So with that said, I'll give you one more line, and then we'll close out the poems, introduce the girls to other kinds of people of color, other worlds, to adventure and kindness and cruelty, cruelty that we usually think we face alone, but we don't. We discover that by sharing with each other, we find the strength to go on. The poems are the play's first hints of the global misogyny that we women face. Um, and I'll end with Let Her Be Born and Handled Warmly.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
thank y'all. Tara, thank you for joining us. Angela, thank you for coming through.
It was fun.
Thank you so
Thank
much. And our
you.
next book for next month, for May, will be James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. So,
You know you're gonna see me on
yeah.
that one. Okay. I try not to hog that conversation. All
So
right.
tell a friend, tell a friend.
Yes.
Usually we have more people tonight, but Tara, thank you for coming through for tonight.
Sure thing.
And hope to see you next time. If not, we'll see you for the next book, which is Blues People by Amir Baraka, who's my favorite.
Awesome.
That's in June, but Fire Next Time is for May. So yeah, thank y'all again, and y'all have a great night.
You as
And
well.
we'll see you for the next book club, y'all.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Good night,
Till next
everybody.
time.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. And we're out. All right, brother.
All right, boss.
I think it was another good one.
Yes, sir.
All right, bro. I will see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir, you will. All right. Good night.
All right. Good night.